Have you ever looked at something in your house and thought, where did this even come from? That toothbrush in your bathroom, that Wi-Fi you can't live without, even that innocent box of graham crackers in your pantry. Each one has a bizarre origin story you probably never learned in school. We live surrounded by inventions and objects that we take for granted, but many of them weren't created for the purposes we use them for today. Some came from ancient rituals, others from wartime discoveries. Some were complete accidents, and a few were originally pretty disturbing. In this video, we're going to dig up the weird, wild, and downright strange backstories behind 10 everyday items you use all the time. From prison punishments turned into fitness gear to toys that started out as cleaning products, this episode is going to change the way you look at your world, one weird origin at a time. So grab your coffee, sit back, and prepare to have your mind blown by the hidden past of the ordinary. 1. The toothbrush. A hairy start to a clean smile. That plastic toothbrush with soft bristles you use every morning, it's the final chapter in a surprisingly gross evolution of dental hygiene. The first people to attempt cleaning their teeth weren't using fancy tools. Ancient Egyptians used frayed twigs as toothpicks around 3000 BC. Meanwhile, in India and China, chewing sticks made from aromatic tree branches were popular. They cleaned teeth and freshened breath. Practical, but far from sanitary by today's standards. But things got weirder in the 15th century. The Chinese invented the first modern-style toothbrush by taking bamboo or bone handles and attaching bristles made from the stiff hairs of hogs, usually Siberian pigs. Yes, people were brushing their teeth with pig hair. When the idea made its way to Europe, people were either disgusted or fascinated. Royalty loved the innovation. The public took longer to warm up to it. Then, in 1938, everything changed. DuPont introduced the world's first nylon-bristled toothbrush, and pig hair finally fell out of fashion. The synthetic material was cleaner, more consistent, and way less gross. Today's toothbrushes have evolved to include electric versions, smart sensors, and even Bluetooth connectivity. But it all started with pigs, sticks, and ancient improvisation. 2. PlayDoh, a cleaning product turned toy. PlayDoh, the colorful, squishy modeling clay kids love, was never supposed to be a toy. It was originally invented as a wallpaper cleaner. In the early 20th century, homes were heated with coal, and soot stains on wallpaper were a common headache. A company in Cincinnati called Koodle Products created a pliable dough that people could roll along walls to lift soot off the surface without damaging the paper. Business was decent, until coal went out of style. With cleaner energy came cleaner homes, and Koodle Products suddenly had a product no one needed. Enter a school teacher. In the 1950s, she discovered the dough was perfect for classroom art projects. It was non-toxic, easy to mold, and didn't make a mess. She told her brother-in-law, Joe McVicker, who worked at Koodle. He saw the opportunity and jumped on it. They added bright colors, a light scent, and rebranded it as a toy, PlayDoh. It debuted at a toy fair in 1956 and was a smash hit. Within a year, it was sold in major department stores, and by the 1960s, it was a household name. What started as a niche cleaning product for coal stains is now one of the world's most iconic kids' toys, all thanks to a clever pivot and a little classroom creativity. 3. The treadmill, from torture to toning. Most people today think of treadmills as tools for fitness, but their original purpose? Punishment. The treadmill was invented in 1818 by Sir William Cubitt, a British engineer. At the time, the British prison system was looking for ways to discipline inmates that were physically demanding, but not cruel enough to draw public outrage. Cubitt proposed a machine that forced prisoners to walk endlessly, pushing large paddles connected to gears. The device powered grain mills or pumped water, hence the name treadmill. These early treadmills could have 20 or more prisoners walking side by side for 6 or more hours a day, often while climbing stairs that led nowhere. It was mind-numbing, exhausting labor, and it was specifically designed to be. Eventually, human rights advocates campaigned to have the devices banned, and by the late 1800s, they were phased out. Fast forward to the 20th century, and treadmills returned, not in prisons, but in homes and gyms. This time, they were marketed as tools for health and longevity. The irony? What started as a soul-crushing punishment is now something people voluntarily use, sometimes for fun, sometimes for stress relief, and often in January after making New Year's resolutions. 4. Wi-Fi, invented by a Hollywood star. Wi-Fi has become as essential as running water in the digital age, but its origins trace back to a Hollywood actress and a piano player trying to help win World War II. In the early 1940s, Hedy Lamarr, a famous actress, teamed up with George Enthile, an avant-garde composer. Together, they created a frequency hopping system that would prevent enemies from jamming torpedo guidance signals. The idea was to make radio transmissions jump between frequencies in sync, like a constantly shifting code. Though the US Navy initially ignored their invention, the concept was solid. Years later, during the Cold War and beyond, this spread-spectrum technology was revisited and eventually became foundational for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS. Lamarr and Enthile never profited from their invention, and for decades, their contributions were largely unknown. But today, they're recognized as pioneers in wireless communication. So yes, every time you stream a movie, download an app, or send a meme, you're using technology sparked by a glamorous actress who also happened to be a brilliant inventor. 5. Balloon animals, from rituals to birthday parties. You might think balloon animals began with clowns and children's parties, but their bizarre history actually dates back to the Aztecs. Centuries ago, Aztec priests would craft inflated figures from the intestines of animals, typically cats or dogs. These weren't just toys, they were used in religious rituals and sacrificial ceremonies. The inflated intestines were twisted and tied into animal shapes and offered to the gods. Yes, the very first balloon animals were literal animal parts. Fast forward to the 20th century, and balloon twisting evolved into a form of entertainment. In the 1930s, an entertainer named Henry Marr is often credited with popularizing balloon animals in the modern sense. Latex balloons had become more durable, and Marr began twisting them into shapes during performances, dazzling audiences. Today, balloon animals are a lighthearted symbol of celebration, but their origins are anything but playful. From sacred offerings in ancient temples to centerpieces at kids' birthday parties, they've undergone a transformation few would expect. 6. Barcodes. From sand doodles to global commerce, barcodes might be one of the most mundane things you encounter. On cereal boxes, books, shampoo bottles. But their origin story begins with beach sand and Morse code. In 1948, a grad student named Bernard Silver overheard a supermarket executive asking for a better way to track inventory. He and fellow student Norman Joseph Woodland began brainstorming ideas. One day, Woodland, inspired by Morse code, drew a series of dots and dashes in the sand at a Florida beach. He pulled the lines downward, creating the elongated vertical lines we now know as barcodes. At the time, scanners didn't exist to read this kind of code, so their idea was way ahead of its time. The technology finally caught up in the 1970s. On June 26, 1974, the first product ever scanned using a barcode was a pack of Wrigley's chewing gum in an Ohio supermarket. Barcodes have since revolutionized retail, logistics, and manufacturing. What started as a few lines scratched in the sand now drives a global system of tracking and commerce, moving billions of products through the supply chain daily. 7. Lysol, from epidemics to everyday cleaning. You know Lysol as a common household disinfectant, but its early history is a little darker. Invented in the late 19th century in Germany, Lysol was originally designed to help combat cholera and the plague. It was a powerful antiseptic, meant to disinfect surfaces, clean surgical tools, and even sanitize public spaces. In the early 20th century, Lysol gained popularity in the US during the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic. It was promoted as a germ-killing miracle product. But what's truly unsettling is that Lysol was also marketed, shockingly, as a feminine hygiene product. In the 1920s, 1940s, ads suggested women use Lysol as a douche, claiming it would help maintain freshness and even marital happiness. This led to thousands of cases of internal burns, infections, and hospital visits. Thankfully, that use has long been abandoned, And Lysol today is a powerful regulated cleaning agent for surfaces, not people. It's a product that's been through pandemics, propaganda, and rebranding. And while it now lives under your kitchen sink, its history is a sobering reminder of how far both science and marketing have come. 8. High heels, built for battle and bathrooms. High heels are often seen as symbols of fashion and femininity, but their roots are decidedly functional and even masculine. In 10th century Persia, horseback warriors wore heeled shoes to keep their feet locked into stirrups while riding. The elevated heel gave better control in battle. This practical design soon caught on in Europe, not among women, but among aristocratic men. Wearing heels became a status symbol, showing that you weren't someone who had to walk long distances or work the fields. By the 17th century, heels were a must-have for male European nobility. King Louis XIV of France was famous for his red heels, which were reserved for the most elite members of his court. So, how did they become associated with women? In the 18th century, as men's fashion shifted towards simpler, more practical footwear, women adopted the heel and adapted it for fashion. The designs became slimmer, taller, and more decorative. Fast forward to today, and high heels are mostly worn for aesthetic reasons, glamour, height, power, but their strange journey from battlefield utility to bathroom selfies is one of the most unexpected fashion twists in history. 9. Graham crackers, a crumbly crusade against sin. Graham crackers might seem innocent, just a snack for toddlers or a key ingredient in s'mores. But they were invented with a moral mission in mind. In the early 1800s, American minister Sylvester Graham led a health movement rooted in strict vegetarianism and temperance. He believed that rich, spicy foods overstimulated the body and led to immoral behavior, especially sexual desire. His solution? A bland, fibrous cracker made from unsifted whole wheat flour, what we now call the graham cracker. Graham promoted the cracker as part of a diet that would curb impure thoughts and promote purity, especially among young men. He was the anti-junk food crusader of his time, and his followers, called Grahamites, lived in communes with strict diets and no alcohol, meat, or warm baths, because those too were seen as stimulating. Over time, food manufacturers sweetened the recipe and added honey, sugar, and cinnamon, completely going against Graham's intentions. Today's graham cracker would probably horrify him. So next time you're roasting marshmallows over a campfire, just remember, the sweet treat you're eating started out as a weapon in the war against sin. 10. Candyland. Born in a polio ward, few board games feel as innocent and nostalgic as Candyland, with its colorful paths and sugary landscapes. But it was born from a time of darkness and disease. In the 1940s, during one of America's worst polio outbreaks, children across the country were hospitalized or quarantined for months at a time. Eleanor Abbott, a school teacher recovering from polio herself, noticed how bored and depressed the kids in her ward were. There were no toys, no distractions, just fear and silence. So, she invented a game. She created a simple board game that didn't require reading or strategy, just imagination. Children could move through gumdrop forests, peppermint sticks, and lollipop lanes, escaping into a whimsical world far from hospital beds and iron lungs. The game was submitted to Milton Bradley, who saw the potential and published it in 1949. It was an immediate success. Parents loved that it was easy for young kids to play, and kids loved the colorful fantasy. Candyland became more than just a game. It was a symbol of hope. It gave joy to children during one of the scariest public health crises in history. So, next time you see Candyland at a toy store, remember, it's not just a game. It's a legacy of resilience, creativity, and compassion. Every object has a story, but some are far more bizarre than we ever imagined. Who would have guessed that your toothbrush started as a stick with pig hair? Or that the treadmill you jog on was once used to break prisoners? Or that Wi-Fi owes its roots to a Hollywood star trying to fight Nazis? We tend to think of modern life as sleek, high-tech, and efficient, but it's all built on the weird and wonderful innovations of the past. Some came from science, others from superstition, some were happy accidents, while others were solutions to problems that no longer exist. But that's what makes these stories so fascinating. They remind us that invention is rarely a straight path, and sometimes the weirdest ideas end up changing the world. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the Gadget Grid, and let us know in the comments. Sante, which origin story blew your mind the most? Thanks for watching. And remember, the ordinary isn't always as ordinary as it seems.